Hello, just doing a sound check. Also, heads up if you're already here, I'll mention this again, but ideally we're going to work with a wall space today. So if you have some space at a wall that you can move to, that'd be great. It'll allow you to do a bunch of new moves, new exercises. If you don't have any wall space available, that's okay. You'll have options to do some of the usual stuff. I got the thumbs up, sounds good. That's great. All you need really for wall space is just a little bit at a wall, just like this, about 6 feet or as tall as you. That's enough, ideally without any lights, fixtures, or light switches, anything like that, if possible. We'll get started, of course, in just a few minutes with our warm-up. But again, if you can move to a wall, then please do. Okay, welcome. We're going to begin with our warm-up exercise as usual. It's called the Ba Cheng Gong. Especially if you're only doing yoga once a week, it's important to get into a warm-up first. Yoga is kind of created assuming that you're practicing more or less day to day. So if you're missing a lot of time, then it's good to do a little warm-up before you get into it. So feet about hip width apart. Start by looking to the right, come out the balls of the feet. Then look forward and drop the heels. Then looking left, come up. Look forward, heels down. Looking right, heels up. Forward, heels down. One time, last time to the left. And forward. Keeping the heels down, let's look up. Forward, down. Forward, up. Forward, and down. to the center. Now leaning the head to the right. And then to the left. And then to the right again, this time chin up a bit. Down a bit. Over to the left. Chin up a bit. Chin down a bit. And back to center. Half circles with the head, side to side. And back to center. Thumbs in a light fist. Elbows bent. Let's roll the shoulders back. And forward. And fingertips to the collarbone. Roll the elbows forward. And back. And release the arms. Now shifting to the left foot, lift the right. Shifting to the right foot, lift the left. So on and so forth. And then back to center. Now big arm circles forward. And then back. And then thumbs in the light fist, elbows out, circle in at the elbow joint. Other way. And interlace. Wrist rolls. Other way. And some waves. Reverse. And rubbing the palms. Hands to the kidneys. Take it the hips around. Other way. And back to center. Shifting to your left foot, right leg comes across, opens out. 3 times. Inwards. Other leg opening out. And then inwards. Okay, heels together, toes together as well. Rub the palms together. And the knees, rub the knees. Your knees got to take them around. Other way. And standing up, ankle rotations. Other way. Other foot. Other way. And then heels together. This time the feet angled out. Lift the toes, relax the arms, and gently twist. And back to center, heels out, feet parallel side by side, hip width. Bend the knees, drop the tailbone, ground yourself, and rock gently forward and back. This tonifies and strengthens the feet, massages the feet, and helps to ground. Okay, coming back to the center. And now we loosen everything up, so let's shake it all out now. A little bit of a jump. Shaking it out one more time. And shake it out to the floor. All right. Okay, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us, I mentioned just before our warm-up that we're going to be working with a wall for some poses today. So try to find some wall space, ideally where you can see or hear me. You don't have to necessarily bring your mat there. It's ideal if you can bring your mat there. The wall, I said it should be 6 feet, but actually it could be even just 4 feet tall, clear wall to work with. And this will allow us to do a lot of fun exercises that we can't normally do in a normal class setting. So let's get started with our cat-cow first. So please find your way to a kneeling position. You could kneel on a blanket if you like. Don't worry at this point about your wall. Okay, come into neutral. Hands a little wider. Let's take some hip circles. Get into the hips a little bit. And the other way. And then finish with hips forward in kneeling push-up position. Bit of a tuck to the tailbone. Long spine through the crown. You can hold here or in chaturanga, or moving between the both chaturanga push-ups. Please lower all the way down to the floor and immediately reach your left arm out. And then peel up the right side of the body. Now I debated whether to show you how to do this pose with the wall, but basically it's the same kind of position, but you'd be standing on the floor, and the wall is where the floor is for you now. So if you want to do this from a standing position, just stand with your left side to the wall with your arm back like this. You can also do it in a doorway, which allows you to go a little deeper. Now let's come back to flat. Slide the left hand in, right hand out, and peel up the left side of the body. And then coming back to flat, slide your hands in. Coming into a light cobra, hover your hands and slowly glide them forward. And then release. Now we're going to do cross lift. We're going to do opposite arm and leg. So let's do right leg, left arm lift. Long and lifted. Slowly release. Take a breath. And inhale, lift left leg, right arm. And slowly release. Hands beside the chest again, elbows in, into a light cobra, or into an upward dog if you're ready for that. Then come back to down dog, maybe through tabletop. Let's keep the knees bent initially. Bent knee, downward dog. And walking the dog. And please bend the knees down to the floor. Now, if you're able to work at a wall, this is a way that you can do a downward dog with the help of a wall. And sometimes if you're doing a really deep downward dog, your hands will start to slide forward. If you're really working into your legs, your arms start to slide forward. So what you can do is make your hands into mittens, just like you're wearing mittens, turn them sideways, and put your thumb and index finger against the wall with both hands, like so. And then when you come into a downward dog, you can't slide forward. Your hands are really stable, and you can really get into those legs. So if you want, give that a try if you have the wall space. The way that you can do that if you don't have the wall is to grip the outside of your mat and hold it tight as you come into downward dog. So grab either one of those versions, and we're going to hold a nice long down dog. Feel free to walk the dog or do some variation that you like. Okay, bending the knees down. Now, if you're working at the wall, bring your hands back about 6 inches from the wall. If you're not working at the wall, this is just going to be a normal plank for you. If you are working at the wall, you bring the crown of your head to the wall and come into plank, and you're able to reach through the crown of the head, and it really changes how you feel in how you work in the plank. Holding here or regular plank. And then back, downward dog. And bend the knees, walk forward towards the wall ideally. If not, you're just coming into regular flat back. If you have the wall, use the crown of your head at the wall to extend into, almost like you're doing a version of headstand. That's the kind of extension you want through the crown of the head here. Okay, and then bend the knees, just ragdoll forward. And slowly from here, just roll up to standing. Okay, shake it off for a second. Okay, welcome if you're just joining us. We're doing some work with the wall today, if possible. So if you can be working at the wall, please do. For now, though, you can be a bit away from the wall for our wide-legged position. If you are close to the wall, no problem. First, just standing in a nice wide stance. Pressing the weight to the outside edges of the feet and pressing the thighs back, toning the kneecaps. Now from here, please interlace the hands behind you. Roll the shoulders back, lift the chest. Tone the legs and fold forward to a comfortable degree. You could stay at flat back, or if you want to round forward, draw your arms over top, you can. Inhale, tucking the tailbone and slowly rising up. Now bringing just your heels in. Interlace the fingers in the front, reverse interlacing. Turn the palms forward, and then knees wide, arms up. I debated showing you guys this pose at the wall. It's basically the same position, just with your back to the wall. It allows you to keep really good alignment in the spine. You can slide a little bit lower. If you like breathing exercise here, one more. Pressing up, hands just above the knees. Press the weight of the upper body into the legs. Maybe shifting a little bit. And hands down, maybe skandasana. Side to side if you like, or just holding. And then back to center, walk the hands forward, heels out, sit back, wide-legged downward dog. And walking the hands in about halfway. Come into flat back. You can hold there, getting a stretch from that position, or hinge forward more deeply, crown of the head towards the floor, on the floor. This pose can also be done with a wall by sitting against a wall. So your heels are just a little bit forward from the wall, and you sit back as you forward fold. It allows you to rest deeply into the pose, especially if you get your head down, it becomes a very restful position. Okay, pressing up. Bring the feet in if you have to, tuck the tailbone to come up. Okay, great. Now moving your mat to the wall, ideally if you can. If you can't have your mat at the wall, that's okay. If you don't have a wall, that's okay too. You'll just be doing the usual. But we're going to get into a lunge position. If you want to use blocks, you can. But for this particular lunge, we're working on how to work the back leg properly, and the wall comes in handy for that. So if you have your right foot forward, the left leg comes to the wall with the toes tucked under, just like so. Now you don't have to have the blocks. This is just a nice way, as you can see, my spine gets to be in one straight line with my back leg, which is nice alignment. But if I was down a little bit lower, that's okay too. Now start with the back knee up. Ideally the toes tucked towards you so that you're not just flat against the wall. Your toes are curved on the floor forward. Now, I have met several people who don't have that flexibility in the toes, in which case just have your foot up higher. Now keeping your back heel against the wall, slowly lower your back knee. So this creates a different stretch in the calf there, and a little bit different in the thigh. Then sinking the hips forward without letting the heel come off the wall. Now you can choose if you want to stay here. You come on the thigh reach up high, or even pressing your heel into the wall, you could come up into the crescent lunge with the heel anchored. So any one of those versions, I'm sticking with the easier, more restful one. Knee down. Okay, and then shifting the hips back and pushing off the walls is pretty easy. You just push off, you come forward, and then we'll just step back. So now we're working with the other side. So it's a low left lunge, blocks optional. And keep your back heel pressing into the wall. Slowly lower your back knee to the floor. If you don't have a wall, just keep pressing it back. It's not the same, but do what you got to do. Do what you can. Swinging the hips forward from here. This front shin ideally should be vertical. Now you might come up onto your thigh. You might reach up high. You might lift and reach up. It's up to you. Okay, and then from here, hop your back leg towards the top of the mat. Flat back position. Exhale and fold. Inhale, sweep wide and up, coming up. Exhale, namaste. All right, if you need a little sip of water, go for it. Okay, now we're going to do a version of downward dog. It's considerably easier, but it does work your body in a different way, and it works your mind in a different way. So even if you find it easy, I still recommend giving it a try. It's not like you're not getting anything out of it. You're just not getting as much muscularly out of it. So if you stand facing the wall, you take your hands just below chest level, works best for most people. It's going to be shoulder width. Your middle finger should be pointing up. And then from there, you walk back until your body's basically like in a downward dog. You could, ideally, you want to keep your hands where you've set them up. You don't want to really slide your hands around, but find the position you need to be able to work your best stretch for your hamstrings and keeping the spine long. Now you take a nice twist from this position. You just keep everything the same, but drop your left arm. Reach for your right leg and drop the left shoulder, look under your right arm. A gentle twist. Now, one of the prerequisites for poses, advanced poses like headstand, is that you have to be able to do this position and get your back flat. If you can see how horizontal my arm and my spine is, that's the position you need in order to do some advanced poses like headstand. If you're up like this, because your flexibility in your shoulders tight, you won't be able to do it safely, generally speaking. Now let's take the other hand, do the other side, dropping that right arm, little twist left. Re-engage and come forward and up. Okay, shake it out a little bit. Now we're going to go through a sun salutation, but we're going to do it with our back to the wall, and I'll show you at the variation you can try, and I'll show you what you can do if you don't have a wall. So when we get to the downward dog, if you want to use the wall, you back your heels up to the wall, you take one leg up nice and high, straighten the leg, hips flat, and then you might even be able to walk your hands in, okay? Then you do the other leg. If you're working without a wall, then you'd just be taking your leg up in scissor position, very similar, but a little less of a stretch, a little bit more of a tone. So either are good. Here we go, starting at the top of the mat. Let's go through sun salutation. Unless you're already there, don't worry. Here we go, inhale, arms up. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, folding, bend the knees, plant the hands, step, walker, jump back. You can go right to downward dog if you like, or through the vinyasa, as you know. Once you're in the downward dog, if you're doing scissor leg, take your leg up. If you're doing it at the wall, move your heels to touch the wall. Take your right leg up first. Hips flat. Press up with the right heel, pivoting on the ball of the foot. If you want to go deeper, walk your hands closer to the wall. Take your leg a little higher. Okay, lowering that leg, other leg. Take a break in between if you need to. Now, if you find your hands are sliding, you can use that grip thing I showed you earlier. So your hands don't slide forward. And then slowly lowering down and bend the knees down to the floor. Now for this next one, I recommend something soft for under your knee, especially if you find your knees are a little sensitive. So grab even a t-shirt, a sock, a blanket, whatever you can, and just put it right up against the wall. Now, if you're working without a wall, you won't be able to go as deep or do this pose quite as well, but there is an option for you. I'll show you. For those of us who do have a wall, you would back it up so that your feet are against the wall. You slide one leg all the way down. So now we have the left knee at the wall floor corner, and then we start to come up. And we start to feel a deep stretch in the left quad. You might be able to get your right foot forward. Eventually, you start to come up from there. Very deep stretch in here. Eventually, this is the ultimate kind of position, having your arms up. Now, places in between, you might be here. You might use a block. You might not be able to get that foot forward, so you might be in kneeling. You might try to come up from kneeling. Eventually, you want to sit closer, eventually sitting right up against the wall. Let's take a few more breaths this side. I should mention, if you're doing the version without the wall, then you're in a lunge. You're just trying to grab that back foot. It's not as good because you don't have the complete stability of that wall as your anchor. It's safer, it's more stable, and you can go deeper and more effortless to get there. Okay, let's release this side. Now to come out, the best way is to take the knee straight forward so you don't risk torquing the knee joint at all coming out. Now other side, right leg comes up the wall, slides down. Now it's very important that your knee's against the wall. If it's even an inch forward, your body can escape a deep stretch pretty quickly. So keeping that knee anchored to the wall really brings the stretch where you need it to be, where your body can kind of get out of it. Even just an inch of having it away from the wall. So maybe coming up to whatever degree capacity you can. This is a variation actually of pigeon pose. I should mention too, there's a way to do pigeon with the wall, just using it for the upright right version of pigeon, because this is the position of the leg anyway. That's just in case you want to try it later. Okay, let's slowly come down from there and slowly out and slowly up. Now this next pose is a fairly deep hamstring stretch. It's easier if you have a couple blocks and a wall. I'll show you how you can do it if you don't have any props or if you don't have a wall. So this is Uttanasana. So you could do it with just standing forward, fold hands on blocks. You can even do it as a regular with hands on your ankles or with your knees bent. But if you want to use a wall to take yourself further or be more supported, this is the more supported version. You stand 2 foot lengths forward. So foot length plus a bit is where you go with your feet. Your legs are straight, you hinge forward, and then you rest your head into the blocks. I can't get quite down to my blocks, but most people aren't as tall as me and can rest quite nicely into the block. Another option too, take your feet forward a little more. And this changes where the stretch is in your hamstring. It's a different stretch than just standing flat. Now, for those of you who are very flexible in the hamstrings and want to take it even further, you turn yourself the other way. You come into ragdoll, get your upper back against the wall, and then slowly start to straighten your legs and then slide down the wall. So for me, my hamstring's a little too tight at the moment to really do that one justice. So I would choose the facing this way version. Let's take another 4 or 5 breaths in whatever version you're choosing to do. Okay, slowly coming up and pressing away from the wall. Okay. We're going to go through a sun salutation. We're going to use the wall again, so we want the wall behind us. If you're just doing a normal non-wall practice today, then when we get to downward dog, you'll just take the leg up and over and scorpion tail. Okay, and then we'll change legs. If you're doing the legs up, the wall position, you would come into down dog, step a leg length up. So it's about, you can see it's about the height of my hips. I step up, so now I'm in an upside down downward dog. And then if you want, you can take a leg over. So it's like the same position. It's like downward dog, but with a leg up, but in the up the wall position. So it's a pretty challenging pose. Feel free to stick with the normal leg over position if you're at all skeptical or not confident in yourself that you can do it safely. So here we go. We'll start with chair pose, sitting down nice and low. And exhale, straighten the legs, fold over to the front. Inhale, flat back extension. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, plant the hands, step, walk, jump back. You could go right to downward dog or through the vinyasa. Backing it up to the wall if you are. Take one leg up and over if you're not. If you're going up the wall, step a leg length up. And then take your right leg up and over optionally, or just hold the downward dog. Other leg. And then coming down. Good. Take a breather for a second. Let's come into Malasana using the wall, if you can, otherwise without it. You'll notice if you haven't done it against the wall, it's a different pose. I shouldn't say it's a different pose, but it's a different feeling. You can really rest into it. The wall takes the weight and drops it right into the right position. So, great way to use the wall. And if any of you are feeling at all daunted by some of these positions, just stick with the easier ones. These are, some more challenging stuff. Some people can do them right away, but most people can take years of practice. Okay, now we're coming around for a crow pose. Now you can use crow pose, use a wall, in crow pose to keep you from falling over if you want. So this is how you'd use a wall in crow pose. So you can't fall forward now from that crow position. So feel free to give that a try. For those of you who aren't doing crow, please sit in Baddha Konasana. And wait for those people to finish crow. Baddha Konasana at the wall. You sit as tight to the wall as you can. Normally in this position, if you're away from the wall, your low back wants to slouch back, your hips want to roll back. When you're against the wall, it keeps your hips from rolling back. And so the stretch goes into the hips where we want it. And so as we release the legs will start to open more than, because there's a way that you can slouch and your legs open, but it's not the right opening. This keeps you in the right alignment. Now to go a little bit deeper, there's a dynamic tension exercise you can do. You take your hands just above your knees and you lift with your legs and resist with equal tension with your hands. So your legs don't look like they're doing anything at all. You're lifting but resisting equally. And then when you exhale, you relax and just press the legs a little bit lower to the floor. You do that about 3 times, then it doesn't really work so well. So inhale, lift, resist. Second time. Exhale, relax and press. Last time, inhale, lift, resist. Exhale, relax, and gently press. Good stuff. Good, bring the knees in. Okay. Now coming around to kneeling. You can do this pose without the wall. It's just much easier with the wall. I recommend, because we haven't done this before, have the heels up the wall, feet hip width apart. Now hold this kneeling, hands down position first. I'll show you the position because you don't really want to be up in it too long. So we come up, keep the hips forward, and we bring the crown of the head to the wall and use it to really open up the chest. The hands just stay on the hips. To come out, you might push away from the wall. Another alternative to do the pose is you sit down, put your head in position, and then lift your hips forward. It's not ideal, but it's easier to do and makes the pose more accessible. So anyway, you're doing it. Tuck the tailbone, crown of the head to the wall. When you come out, you might press against the wall, use your feet to kind of push yourself forward to come out. Okay, shake it off a little bit. Now we're going to come around to a seated position. Facing this way, balancing on your 3 points. Control behind your hamstring for Navasana, extending the arms with the chest, feet up. You're reaching forward. Maybe even the legs forward. And then slowly releasing down. Okay, we'll make our way around onto our back. And I'll show you a way that you can use the wall if you wanted to do a full wheel lift. So if you take a couple blocks at the wall, you can do this without the blocks too. The wall keeps your hands from sliding out, but it's nicer with blocks. And I'll of course show you how to do this without any props. Lying back, pull a little full wheel, sort of a little bridge, and then press up into the blocks. Just makes it much easier to get into position. You don't have to lift as much. It's supported for your wrists, so it's a nicer way to do full wheel. Otherwise, the rest of us, you're not even doing full wheel anyway. Little bridge. Now we're gonna slowly come down and shift your hips a bit to the right for our twist. Hips a bit to the right, extend the left leg, right foot gently on the left knee or behind. Catch hold of the right leg with the left arm and draw the leg over into a gentle twist. You might reach your arm out. You might use a block under your right knee for some support. Come back to center, feet flat, shift your hips over to the left. Extend your right leg, left foot gently on or behind the knee. Right hand grabs the left leg, left arm reaches out, gently twisting over to the right, looking left if it's comfortable. Now the next two poses are ones we do regularly, but you can also do them with the wall, and it makes it a deeper practice. But feel free to stay where you are. If you want to work at a wall, come sit up against the wall. So without a wall, this is thread the needle, where you take your leg across and you just hold like that, or you can have your foot on the floor. If you're at the wall, it's the same position, but you keep your hips down and you start to slide the foot down the wall without letting your hips come up. That's where your body gets out of the proper stretch and alignment. You want to keep the hips flat. If you're really flexible, sit right against the wall. If you're like me and you need a little bit of space, back it up a little bit, and that allows you to get better alignment. Because in some cases, if you're really tight, your legs, you can't even get into the formation to start bending the knee. So you have to move a bit away from the wall just to even start the pose. But possibly you're in the regular thread the needle. Let's hold for just a few more breaths this side. And other side. Now, a common mistake in this pose is people tend to want to have the foot flat and just bend the knee straight this way, but you actually want to be on the side of your foot because both the legs are opening out, hip opening. It's not just the left leg and the right leg's doing the work. Both legs are actually in external rotation. One is deeper than the other, of course, but so that's how you get proper alignment for this one. The right foot moves down your center line on the wall. Now from here, Now this position, this wall isn't perfect, and chances are the wall you've chosen, if you have one, might not accommodate this move, but there's another one you can try that's a little easier. If possible though, take your legs as wide as possible out on the wall and just let your gravity open up your groin and hips like that. If you don't have the space like I don't here, you could take butterfly position alternatively, which is quite comfortable. Now, if you're not working with the wall at all, you can actually hold butterfly position by grabbing your feet or ankles. You can even do a happy baby if you prefer. Okay, now if you wanted to take this to the next position, you could take a block under your hips, legs up the wall, If you don't have a wall, then you can do this without a wall, just holding the position using your muscles instead of resting into the wall. So it's a little more active in that way. This is a little more restful, but both are good ways to prepare for the end of the yoga class. Please feel free to stay here, legs up the wall, or come into a shavasana or a meditative position. If you're finished though, this is a time that you could also pack up and go. I'm going to meditate with you for a few minutes. If you'd like to join me, please do. Don't feel like you have to. Thank you for joining us if you did. Thanks for trying the wall. It's one of my favorite yoga props, the technical yoga prop, but it is a very useful tool in the yoga practice. You can pretty much do a different version of every pose with the wall. We just did a fraction of some of the stuff you can do. So I hope that you can really embrace that as a cool new prop, as it is very helpful. So hope to see you next week. If you have any questions, as always, I'm available to help you. If you just send me a message, I'll get back to you. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Namaste. Now, for those of you who are staying, if you wanted to see how you can use a wall to help your meditation posture in a great way, I'll show you. If you've meditated long enough, or if you've been on a retreat long enough, at some point you'll want to sit against the wall because your back and legs will be so tired. You'll want to meditate against the wall. But if you do it wrong, you can get a really slouchy posture and your meditation won't be as alert. So this is what you tend to want to do in retreat when you start to get tired. You want to lean against the wall, kind of slouch like this. And there's nothing wrong with it for a while, but you'll get some overstretching of your outer back muscles and some compression in the front of the spine. So it's just not an ideal position. But one way that you can use a block and just transform your posture and still get the wall support is you take a block just below your hip line. Make sure you're right from the wall. And now I have this super upright posture, but I'm also still resting into the support. So this is a neat trick my teacher showed me that has really changed my meditation posture once I start to get a little saggy and tired in my posture. So if you like, you can give that a try. Sitting up tall, we'll just do a little bit of breath meditation for a couple minutes if you'd like to join me. Okay, please keep it going if you can. Meditate as long as you can with good quality focus. That's the key. Consistency and quality. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Namaste.